Everybody in the staff team is significantly happier with the system and the support now. So for councillors, for example, over the recent corona lockdown, we've been able to maintain online meetings because all of our councillors have access to Teams via their tablets. So I can sit here in my front room, managing 19 councillors and 4 or 5 officers and members of the public, holding an online meeting with the integrated system that Cloudy provided.
The one thing that I'm really pleased to see is that our actual councillor attendance at the meetings has actually been boosted. We're getting virtually 100% attendance at all the meetings, which I think is a really good thing, and I am in no doubt whatsoever that's by virtue of the fact that they're able to access the remote meetings via Teams.
Hello and welcome to our webinar today. Thank you so much for joining us. We really hope the next hour and a bit is going to be super useful for you and your council and your team. So my name is David Hall. I'm the Managing Director of Cloud IT, and today we are hosting a webinar on choosing the right cloud for your council and unlocking hybrid working. So it's going to be a really great session today. We've got a number of guests who are joining us to come and talk about the various aspects of the cloud, their experiences and the benefits for councils and for councillors. So we've got our John Mitchell from Microsoft, who is joining us first, who'll be talking about the exciting developments Microsoft are introducing to really help you run a very effective council. So John's going to be speaking very soon. We also have Steve Walker, our resident councillor chair, and also expert on local gov and modern IT. So Steve, I can see there just getting yourself sorted out. So Steve will be joining us a bit about talking the benefits to councils to modernise, as he's done it very much at his council as well. And then we have Delia from Bletchley and Fenny Stratford Town Council, who'll be joining us to talk about her experience of the modernisation process as a slightly larger council. They modernised earlier in the year, and Delia's been working through all those challenges and pitfalls around doing it, and will hopefully share those nuggets of wisdom for us. And then finally, we've got Paula Heath who's joined. So Paula, thank you so much. Paula is a clerk herself, been a clerk for many years. I have a bit of a story about my relationship with Paula and when I first met her being a clerk, and the work we did at Cloudy IT, and also as a member of the ALC or representative of the ALCC as well, which we'll be talking a bit about that later on. And then we've got some Q&A at the end. So thank you so much for joining us. It's going to be a really exciting session. And also, we're going to be building upon the session we provided last time. So, guys, thanks ever so much. We'll bring you onto the webinar when we bring you on for your individual points in a second. So, cheers. Really, what is this all about? Here at Cloudy, we truly believe in the sector has so many opportunities to modernise and transform. And we launched our digital levelling up agenda at the SLCC Practitioners Conference, where we had the lovely Linda Chandler come and join us and talk about Microsoft strategy and working with smart cities, but smart towns, smart parishes, and how hyper-local economies could be formed to obviously, really combat the modernisation process and what we're trying to do to help our communities and drive the adoption of these technology aspects. So we've launched through the year all our different events, and this is one of them. We've got many different events that we've run and working with our partners such as SLCC, now ALCs, and our councils. We've really started to try to put a bit of a roadmap together for councils who are looking to transform and embrace technology and use it better. And we do know that as the cost of living squeeze affects us all, no one is immune from that. And councils especially have to find newer ways of doing things, working smarter to deliver those key services at a much more cost-effective way. And using the cloud can unlock those opportunities, and maybe we'll touch on those a bit later. So just briefly, some of the services Cloudy provide to the sector. We do apps for local government, park inspections, allotments, cemeteries, all built on the Microsoft platform. A lot of the things we do are Microsoft based. We leverage their cloud so you can do more. So really exciting. We do agenda pack solutions with our partner Decisions, so helping you to build the modern agenda pack very quickly, very easily, fully integrated into Microsoft as well. We do IT support and training, and we also do broadcasting for council meetings. I think it's been very popular as councils look to continue to engage with their communities, but also look to bring subject matter experts and other people to come and speak at their council meetings and as well. And then finally, web design and accessibility, something that we know is a big thing for councils, and making sure that they can, obviously best present their services to their community. So a real range of different services we provide to give you that toolkit to be able to really just run your council in a very digitally effective way. So 365, what's it all about? What are we talking about today? So we truly believe that Microsoft 365 is the basis for any size council's IT systems. It's that complete cloud that gives you that end-to-end piece that allows you to run an effective council. It allows your councillors to have a .gov domain. It allows them to have a private storage location where they can store their files, they can access their apps and their emails, and they don't need devices either. They can have devices, but it's all stored in the cloud and it's secure. And that's the basic license. And then we have the standard and the premium licenses, which are used for officers. And, the premium having some great features around security, end-to-end security, really important. The cloud's a wonderful thing, and it is very secure when set up correctly. But, having a product like premium gives you that ability to manage the device security, the cloud security, and bring it all together. So Lots of flexibility provided by Microsoft to modernize your cloud, and also at the price point of every size council. You don't just need to be the big councils to take advantage of that. Even the tiny ones can do that. You could be a part-time clerk with 6 councillors and still have all of those benefits, because at the end of the day, let's face it, you want to do as much as you can do locally, and you can't do that without the use of technology. So what is really exciting is this this graphic on the right hand side, which shows you all the different apps that are included in your subscription. And these apps are super useful to running a really effective council, from managing your meetings to organising your projects to collecting information from the public to engaging with them. It's all in there. There's an app for everything. And it's going to be really exciting to speak to some of our clerks and guests today as they talk about some of the success stories they've had with those apps and share that with us and with yourselves as well. So really looking forward to that. So as we can see, lots of opportunity, very well priced as well. And it's that complete cloud that will allow any council to really modernize. And we'll talk a bit about that in a minute. So, John, thanks very much for joining us. Are you there?
I am. Morning.
Hello, good morning to you. So, John, well, thank you for taking time out of your busy schedule to come and talk to us today. We worked very closely together over the last few years to talk about how we can modernise the sector and just do more to benefit councils. Apologies, my phone just started playing. So John,
nobody noticed.
Exciting work in the sector. Really glad to be working so closely with Microsoft. And it's always when you come along and really introduce you to some of these nuggets, some things that are going on behind the scenes that are really going to benefit the sector as a whole. And great to hear your thoughts on it. So, John, without further ado, I'll leave the floor to you.
Lovely. Thanks very much, David. Morning, everybody. Great to be here today. David, you're in control. So if you can move to the next slide for me. So very quick introduction. My name's John Mitchell. I'm a sales lead for us in our modern work business, which is everything that David just showed you on the last slide. I've been working at Microsoft for 5 years. Really enjoy working with the partners that we have that sort of bring our cloud to our customers, and especially when those partners innovate on top of our cloud, which is what David and the team at Cloudy IT have been doing for its customers. So really proud of that. Next slide. I thought I would start off, if you could just load the slide. Oh, just go back. There should be some writing on there for you as well for the Satya slide. Oh, don't worry, I'll talk to our friend Satya. So Satya Nadella is the Microsoft CEO, and yesterday Microsoft kicked off Microsoft Ignite. That is our flagship event for developers and IT professionals all around the globe. So it's the time when we come together, we dive into business topics around the future of work, enabling customers to do more, exploring the innovations with Microsoft. And I wanted to share a little bit of insight to kick off with you. Because I thought it'd be interesting. And one of the key topics we have is the future of work. Companies have been reopening their offices and welcoming employees back, and workplaces today look dramatically different than they did 5 years ago or even 2 years ago. So it's a huge topic and a massive area of innovation, because today's workers, it doesn't matter what industry, what size of business that you're working, they have got a new prioritization of the way that they work. They are prioritizing their relationships, the inclusion that they're getting at work, and all of those sort of success factors that are critical to hybrid work. And the great thing for Microsoft is that Satya says, I think quite rightly, that those expectations are changing very fast, and customers need to redefine what productivity means for them in a much more broad way. And actually, digital technology is the most malleable resource that the world has at its disposal to overcome some of the constraints, reimagine the sort of the everyday life and work. And I think we've probably all been in that space where, if we look back 2 years, we're working very, very differently to the way we were. So I'm very excited about some of the technology that we have been launching. And what is really clear, that in this new world that we're redefining, people are thinking more about their worth it equation, like getting that right balance in life is really important. It's not about the paycheck anymore. It's about a combination in things, and flexibility, human connection, all of those types of things are becoming really, really important. That meaning, that mission in the work that you're doing. So It's clear that finding the right hybrid strategy is very important for businesses, and it's clear that digital technology will play a really important role in that. I really like some of the research we've done recently. It's called the Workplace Trends Index research. We do it annually, and we found recently that digital technology plays a really huge role in the engagement levels that employees have with their business. And in fact, an engaged employee is 12 times less likely to leave their company than somebody that's not engaged. So it shows how critical it is that in a new hybrid world, you've got to keep people really engaged in their work, and technology can help do that, but it can also help create the right balance between work and life. And you can see here, flexibility is a really important part of that, and we have got to embrace flexibility across multiple industries to make sure that we meet that need of the users. If we don't do it, then people are going to move industries, they're going to move businesses. If you go to the next slide, please. Thank you so much. So at Ignite this week, we've highlighted 3 key areas of hybrid work, and I've just wanted to share them with you because it's fascinating. The world is figuring out that future of work. It's the biggest live experiment I think we've ever done in business. So it's really exciting. And creating that digital employee experience is that key factor that I mentioned on delivering a purpose of a business, of the, everybody on the call today. If you feel really well connected to the mission and purpose that your council has, then I'm going to say that you're probably feeling quite happy with the role that you have at the moment. If you don't feel that connection, then you're missing on that sort of that key link, and your council will be missing on that sort of key competitive advantage, if you like, in terms of delivering for your people. So no matter where people are in the world, they really want to be productive. And a really good example of that is the modern meeting rooms. I think you all would have experienced this. An experience that harnesses the collective power of the people in the room is really going to create that hybrid meeting call that we all crave, that will deliver on the creativity and the productivity of the people. If your meeting rooms still look and feel like they did back in January 2022, you're probably missing out on a really important part of that modernization. And it's really important that when we bring this technology to life, it works in the flow of work that you have. We need this digital fabric so that you can create that natural productivity and collaboration experience for everybody and work really smart. And that really doesn't matter if you're working individually or if you're working as a group. So that's a really interesting area that we're sort of leaning in on, and we've launched lots of new exciting features. And before David goes to the next slide, I wanted to highlight one feature that I really liked. It should play a video, and I thought would be interesting for you. And it's just about to go live for us, which is very, very interesting. New feature in Teams, which I know is one of the key areas that Dave and the team will look at, and it's called Excel Live. With Excel Live, your Microsoft Teams meeting window itself, so like the window we're looking at the moment, that becomes the canvas for Excel, so that anyone in the meeting can jump into and edit that workbook right at the same time of you without ever leaving the meeting screen. They don't need to go and load up Excel. It happens within that Teams window. It supports the Sheets view of Excel, so everybody, as I say, can co-edit without interrupting anybody else's view, and it comes with all the security and access features that you would expect from Excel and from Microsoft. So it's a really interesting new feature that we've got and allow people to collaborate even if they're not together. So if you go to the next slide, it will load up and it will be available on both desktops and mobiles very, very soon.
Today, we are announcing Excel Live, a powerful new feature that allows attendees to interact and edit an Excel file right from the meeting itself. You don't even need to have Excel running on your device. The shared meeting stage becomes an interactive canvas without anyone having to leave the meeting screen or open the file separately.
So that's an example of some of the fantastic innovation that's coming along the line for Microsoft with Teams and with our Office 365 suite. Really excited to use that. I've used it in preview with my team, and it's been getting rid of that frustration when you can see somebody presenting a workbook to you, but you want to go in there and help them work that document. So next slide, please, David. So a real key theme for us at the moment is empowering our customers and our own employees to do more with less. It doesn't matter how big or small, what industry your customer or you are in, I should say, everybody's looking to be able to do more with less. And actually, of all businesses of all sizes, the digital fabric that I talked about, connecting people, places, and processes, that's creating a massive opportunity for customers to get hybrid work working for them. Put alongside that sort of opportunity, there are pressures, obviously, in the evolving global economy, and they're requiring people to reduce their costs as much as possible. So bringing together that opportunity and that challenge is really important for us to help our customers achieve that. If you go to the next slide for me, David, with Microsoft 365's, we're very passionate about the fact that we've enabled a single platform to bring those multiple capabilities that you need to thrive at work: meetings, chat, phone, scheduling, project management, cloud storage, that collaboration that I just showed with Excel Live. If a business tries to solve for each of those problems individually, very quickly the total cost of ownership goes through the roof, and the administrative costs and complexity of trying to manage that, deploying it, all of those things can be very expensive for business. Now, with Microsoft 365, we've pulled all of this into one integrated experience, and we feel at the moment this is going to provide our customers with that cost saving that they're looking for, alongside the productivity. So we've got 3 buckets where we see this benefit for customers. And as David talks about his solution and experience we've seen from the other counsellors, hopefully this is what they're seeing. Next slide, please, David. Similar to a slide that David showed at the beginning, the innovation on Microsoft 365 has been huge, and there are loads of things in there. Sometimes it will feel quite daunting how much is in there, but finding out what your colleagues are working across the industry and how they're benefiting from some of these features would be really, I think, inspiring for you to take on for yourself. I know Delia, last time we got together, was talking about how she uses Planner, and she was also talking this morning about how she uses Viva, which is our employee experience, to really connect you to the things that are important in your work life, make sure you don't miss documents, and really connecting that experience, which is great. I've been using Bookings, which allows people to see and book time in my calendar with just one simple link in my email. Avoids us having email tennis around, what time can I have a meeting with you, what works, and all of that sort of thing. So really driving efficiency at work. And you can see right in there in 2017 is Microsoft Teams. And obviously that becoming that hub of work of the future. If you go to the next slide, David, we're really proud of the momentum that we've got with Teams, and seeing that develop into that 270 million daily active user community is giving us fantastic insight and signals around how to continue to innovate and improve the product. Excel Live being one of those great features that's coming down the line. I love how some of our partners like Cloudy are creating apps within Teams so that their customers, you on the call, can do your job in the flow of Teams and in the flow of work that you have, and replace some of those slow paper-based processes that you have with really slick digital experiences that keep your data safe. So next slide, please, David. One topic that a lot of businesses talk to me about at the moment, so I'll mention it briefly, is security. That is really something that is a high priority for no matter the size of the business. I think the realization that all businesses, unfortunately, no matter the size, are a target of cyber criminals. SMBs, small and medium-sized businesses, especially, face that sort of same vulnerability to threats that enterprise businesses have, but they don't have the same scale of specialized security staff, to go and combat those threats. And what's great with what we've done with Microsoft 365, we have built the security solution in, which is very, very important. So you can see on screen some of the dangers there: ransomware and people really trying to, take your data and lock it away from you and make you pay to get access back to it. There are lots of simple things that we can do to help you create a modern security posture, and especially if you're working with great partners like Cloudy. If you go to the next slide, the one thing I wanted to give people confidence with is that, Microsoft is one of the very largest digital security businesses in the world. We're very fortunate. We work with billions of customers. We get lots of signals from data every single day, from anything from our Azure cloud platform, Microsoft 365, Xbox, Bing. All of the different solutions that we have are creating a global network of signals for us, so we can identify threats, as soon as they come, or new behaviors, and then we'll use that intelligence to inform our customers. Mind-boggling numbers of 43 trillion signals a day we can analyze, and we're blocking 32 billion email threats, for example, annually. And what we have done is we committed to invest $20 billion into the future and continue to stay on the leading edge of this digital security position. And we believe we can save our customers money by consolidating onto our platform. So I'm really proud and want everybody to be aware of, when you're working on Microsoft 365, then you've got that digital security built in many of the products. If you go to the next slide, David, as I close out on this first 15 minutes. So we have some fantastic solutions for our small businesses. On the right-hand side here, you have got our suites, where we've got those connection of apps that we've pulled together into a suite with a business basic entry point for you to get working in the cloud with Office 365, all the way up to business premium, where we integrate some of those enterprise level security and compliance features for you, so that you can have that peace of mind as you go to work. If you go to the next slide, I think in terms of that do more with less piece that I mentioned earlier, and the way that we believe we can help our customers save money. I've got an example here where if a customer is looking to solve some of those digital challenges in the middle individually, that can very quickly become a quite expensive collection of different vendor solutions that you're working with, all great in their own right, but they won't necessarily work together as an integrated single platform approach. If you load the next element of the slide, with Business Premium, you can get all of that functionality as one at a really effective price, giving you that productivity and security and compliance and device management angle. And if you work with brilliant partners like Cloudy, then they're going to be able to bring that to life for you and make sure that you're getting the value that you need. So my very final slide, which I won't go deep on, is just to say that we have created a promotion for our customers such as yourself. If you're brand new and you're not currently on Office 365 or Microsoft 365, then David and the team can talk to you about a new offer we've got, where we've broken down our annual pricing, making it available as a monthly price to our customers, that David will be able to work with you on. So you can have that flexibility all the way through to June next year before you need to make any sort of long-term commit, but you can start to work on this kind of this digital approach to the work that you're doing and benefit from a lot of the cost savings that we can see. So I'm going to stop there, pass it back to you, David. Thank you very much for the opportunity to come back again.
Brilliant, John. Thanks as always for coming along and just giving us an insight into what Microsoft's doing at the moment. It's really exciting to be working with a company as forward thinking as Microsoft, that are putting so much effort and resource into really trying to make, I love the fabric, the words you use around the technology, etc. And Excel Live looks so exciting. I think there'll be some many benefits around when we're trying to work collaboratively, be able to sort of interact with those files. And I'm sure that's going to apply to all sorts in the near future as well. And obviously what we talked about is choosing the right cloud and trying to find that solution that gives you that end-to-end piece for it's simplistic, it's cost effective, it's it's powerful, and Microsoft's premium license and 365 really does cover that. And I feel it's really great now, because we're going to hear from some of our other guests about their experience of using 365 and how it's gone. So, John, I know you've got to shoot off to another meeting, so you can't join us for the Q&A. But if anyone does have any questions, I'll feed them back to you, and we'll get those answers to them. And if you do have a question, please do put it in the chat, and at the end we will answer those with our panel of experts. But John, otherwise, thank you so much for your time as always, and we'll catch up very soon. Cheers.
No problem. Thanks, David.
Thanks. Brilliant. So thank you, John. And now we're going to talk to Steve Walker, who is Councillor and Chair of Wadston Parish Council. And also, Steve, you head up our local government drive with our solutions such as Decisions, our agenda management solution, and also our suite of apps for local government. So, Steve, how is it all going?
Yeah, thank you, David. And again, thank you to John. That was a really interesting sort of opening session from him. So yes, really pleased to be here again this month on the webinar. And I hope everybody enjoys the content. Not only from John, but from the rest of the people who are joining us today.
Yeah, absolutely. And this is what it's all about, really. It's about just sharing the best practice. And we actually did run this event about sort of 4 months ago, actually. And this is a rerun of the same event. But what we found is there's so much more to learn and so much more we can put forward. And obviously, John was talking about some exciting new announcements. So in the space of a couple of months, things have changed. And Steve, you'll be talking about your experience of, device management and deployment with your councillors at Waddesdon Parish Council, and some of the trends and some of the experiences clerks and officers and councillors can take back to their councils when trying to adopt the technology. And obviously Delia's talking later on about some of those apps and her experience, all these months on of using them. So we're looking forward to that, and Paula as well. So yeah, Steve, I'm going to leave the floor to yourself. I'll control the slide deck. I think you've only got one, so not too many to work through. So Steve, the floor is yours. Cheers.
Thank you, David. Right, so as David mentioned, I am a councillor, local councillor, and chair of Waddesdon Parish Council, but not a massively large parish council. There's 9 councillors and a couple of permanent staff. So many years ago, those watching may remember there was a big push by government on going digital. And in the commercial world, there's a lot of conversations about printing less, reducing paper consumption, and doing more communication electronically. And we were really keen as a council to sort of champion this locally. So one of the aspects of this we looked at was councillor devices. How did we go about making it easier for councillors to work with each other, to work with the clerk, and of course external organisations? So we'd applied for a grant at the time and was successful. The clerk was purchased a laptop solely for council work, whereas previously she'd been using her own piece of kit. And the councillors who had a mix of devices now were all provided with iPads that were purchased at the time. So this was our introduction to sort of working digitally as a council. So after 4 or 5 years, our usage had increased. And about a year ago, we transitioned to 365, of course, through Cloudy. And that was a logical progression. We had got, again, John mentioned it earlier on, and David did as well, and I'm sure other people. We had a mixture of cloud services. We got email from one place, we'd got storage from somewhere else, and we were working in all of these separate apps, these separate areas of as in separate clouds. So nothing was joined up, and data management and everything was a bit of a problem for the clerk. She's got enough on her hands not to be worried about who saved what document where. So we'd gone and had a word with David as a council and migrated everything to 365. So that then gave us Teams. It gave us a much better storage and management, and the clerk obviously, once SharePoint was set up for us, so everything was in one place. Where all these documents had been shared on separate systems, they were now shared in one centrally managed system. And of course, with lockdown, Teams made it a lot easier for everybody to keep in touch with each other, very much like we're doing now. We were all chatting on our devices, which were able to do that. And then a year later, we looked at revamping the devices. Everybody's aware, nothing lasts forever. And we were beginning to see some poor battery life on a couple of devices, and they weren't perfect for the 365 and the Microsoft environment that we were using now almost exclusively. So we went and again had a conversation with Cloud as a council, and were recommended the Microsoft Surface Go 3s as devices for the councillors, and a Surface laptop for the clerk and deputy clerk. We gained a deputy clerk over lockdown. We needed another resource. So again, provisioned and delivered, all secure, all managed. So, the clerk didn't have to do anything. And I think this was one of the important factors to us as a council, that they came ready to go. So, if you're a council thinking, it's a lot of work to migrate all this and get these devices set up, and these weren't. They came, the councillors logged in, they set their PIN and their Face ID up, their Windows Hello ID to make it secure. As we can see on the screen, it's a single sign-on. Once they've signed on with their PIN or Face to the Surface device, they had access to all of their data. And it was a simple process. We didn't have to migrate anyone from other packages. We'd been using Outlook and Word and Excel previously, so the services, it was pick up and go. Fantastic devices to use. The councillors really like them, and they saved us costs over our original. Everything tends to rise. Prices rise nowadays, but these were actually better value than the original devices that we'd purchased. So again, those sort of getting the best value. We felt, instead of renewing our devices that we had like for like, we were getting better functionality, better security, better usability from these devices, from these Microsoft Surface Go's. And yet the council have been using them now. They've been delivered, I want to say probably about sort of 6 months. The councillors have had them. Very, very happy with them. Absolutely trouble-free. Do everything we need. The clerk loves her laptop, and the deputy clerk does as well. And on the screen, this single working environment where we did have Google Drive, Apple Photos, everything was everywhere. The clerk and the deputy clerk can put everything together now in SharePoint. It's all managed in one place and can be shared with the councillor straight away. And with these modern devices, they're secure. So one of the things that you hear a lot in when we talk to councils is the security of data. Is there a risk to the information that I've received? So again, many councils have grants and or issue grants. The grant form that's been submitted is highly personal information on the highly sensitive data. It's the storage and security of that. Is it with the right person? Can anyone access it? Could someone accidentally forward or print it off? With my policies, it is possible to secure all of those, lock those documents down. The same with HR. We have an HR committee. They meet and they discuss, again, sensitive topics. We know that all of that agenda information and is secure and is only available during the course of the meeting to the councillors. So again, it's great to have 365. It's great to have these devices. They work so well together. And they're intuitive. That's one of the things. We a lot of people say with councillors, was it difficult getting them to use it? No, because we weren't sort of struggling with what we wanted to use them for. We had a good idea of what we wanted to do better with the devices. We knew we needed to work on sharing some documents, mainly agendas. Obviously the agenda's important, and the agenda pack. It was that. But instead of it having all these copies printed off each month, and 2 or 3 meetings a month, that's a lot of printing, and handed out to everybody. I spoke to a council recently. They had nearly 250 pages in their agenda pack for a full council meeting. If you print that off, what's a ream? 500. That's boxes of printer paper just to give everybody this information. So we found our meetings are more or less paperless now. We have the agenda up on the large screen. The clerk controls that and then she scrolls up through the agenda, so members of the public that have joined us can see that. All the councillors have their devices, and we use Teams and OneNote for intermeeting communication in case we need to say something while someone's presenting. Works absolutely fantastic. And this is one of the things that John showed in the slide previously. We saved money doing it this way. All of our other subscriptions that we had previously, which worked, were nearly 3 times the cost of what we now pay with 365. So that, massive money, massive cost saving to the council. And we gained services and app access that we didn't have previously with those separate solutions. So I will say, you know, if you're thinking about the move to it, have a look at what is available with 365 now, and have a look at, you know, the modern devices that are available. And I would honestly say, with all hats on, I think we run a lot better with it. And I think a lot of councils where they've gone down this route rather than everybody having their own device, and that massive data risk that introduces to a council, giving councillors and officers and staff these secure devices protects your data, and it's another tick off that list of worries for your clerks. So, and at the end, of course, I'm here for some Q&A. So if anyone's got any questions about, you know, the process we went through, how did the migrations go and everything, I'll be here to talk about that. David.
Steve, brilliant. Well, thank you so much. It's really good to hear you talk about the benefits to Waddesdon Parish Council that, you know, modernising has brought. And, you know, obviously as a councillor and a chair, you're a bit on the other side of the fence. So, you know, but you are technical clearly, and, you know, you appreciate the benefits that technology provides. You know, obviously we are seeing a lot of councils now of varying sizes, you know, the small ones thinking about choosing .gov domains and being more secure and more professional, and creating that, you know, sort of environment for the councillors and the clerk to sort of flourish and, you know, just deliver really. And then we look at those other larger councils who are looking to do more with what they've got, you know, and they've already made the jump to .gov, and they might already have Microsoft 365, but they're not sure if they're using it. You know, we're all at these different phases, aren't we, of our sort of usage of the 365 cloud. And, you know, the thing is, it does move so quickly, so it kind of feels like it's a never endless treadmill of new features that are coming out. But the key thing is to handle it in bite-sized chunks, isn't it? Just focus on one thing at a time, get the benefits in place, and then move on to the next one. It's a bit of a journey, a bit of a pathway, isn't it? So, but yeah, brilliant. Like Steve said, if anyone has any questions for Steve, please do put them in the chat now, and you know, at the Q&A at the end we will answer them, and Steve will be around as well. But Steve, really useful as always. Thanks ever so much, and we'll speak to you later. Great. Well, that was Steve speaking from a councillor's perspective. A councillor have adopted Microsoft 365 and devices, and are using it very successfully. And now we have Delia Shepherd. Delia, are you there?
I'm here.
Hi, brilliant, Delia. Thanks for joining us. As always, really appreciate you coming on and talking about your experience of 365 and what you found at Bletchley and Fenny Stratford Town Council. And, you know, we've been really privileged to be working with you this year to help modernise the council and putting in place all the things we've talked about the premium licenses and devices and 365 and stuff. And you originally came on, I think, well, about 3 months ago to talk about how it was going. We'd only just moved you to 365 really, and I can't believe it's October now, and, you know, where's the time gone? And, you know, it's great to have you back on board and hear about how it's going. So Delia, you know, how is it going at the council? I'll stay on the screen. I'll move the slide across so you've got a bit there and you can explain a bit about the council and tell us how it's all going.
Well, it's going really well. It's going really well. I was reflecting before today on what I'd talked about last time and where we were at and where we are now. And although it's quite a short time, things have moved on incredibly quickly in terms of the way that we are using our IT. And it's been really fantastic from a staff point of view. I think we've still got a way to go with our councillors because they're not doing it day in, day out in the way that we are. And so inevitably it's going to take more time with them. But they have also benefited. And the benefits have been, you know, have been several. Just picking up on something that John and Steve have talked about, this plethora of third-party providers. That's exactly what we had. We had lots of different providers. And we still have some external providers. We have some software that we use that isn't Office 365, and we've still got that. But we're gradually using less and less. And one of the apps we've started using recently is Forms, which I think will enable us to dispense with another subscription that we've got with another third party. And planning the budget for next year, I've been looking at the IT costs, and we are definitely going to be spending less next year, which is really good to know in current times.
Yeah.
And we're also getting more out of our people. We've got 11 employees in the officer team. They're not all full-time, and they all work really hard. We know that going forward, we can't afford to increase our headcount in the current climate. So we have got to do more with less, exactly as we've been talking about. And certainly we're all more productive than we used to be because of the collaboration predominantly and the use of the different pieces of software.
That's excellent. It's great to hear. And obviously when we met you, you know, a lot of change going on in the council. You moved offices and new facilities to look after and all sorts. So it was a great opportunity to take to really think, okay, let's do a reset and you know, a very scary thing, obviously, for any council to do, so much change. But you know, you went from a very open plan office, didn't you, where you were all in the same room, but obviously had dividers up, to a lovely old building, which is in the picture here now. But you all had your own offices, didn't you? And you know, so you were talking last time you came on about how good Teams has been to, you know, keep that collaboration going and, you know, talk in the channels, the chat groups, and, you know, just sort of really just feel like even though you're in different rooms in the same building, you're all connected still.
Absolutely. And it's not just the same building, because we've actually got staff in 4 sets of premises at any given time. You know, most days there'll be people in 4 different sets of premises, and that, you know, there might also be somebody working from home because they've got some reason why they need to work from home. And we're all chatting all the time on Teams. We're all talking to each other throughout the day. You know, so the chat function is really, really useful for keeping in touch. You can talk while someone's on a phone call. You can sort of, you know, send a message to a colleague and get the answer back while you're talking to a member of the community about their issues. It's you know, it's really helpful.
Yeah, and that's the team phone system, because you know, you didn't just change IT, you changed comms as well.
We did everything.
You did, didn't you? But you know, it's great to hear the benefits, and it's exactly that. Like you said, you can be having a phone call, you can be typing a message to one of your colleagues, you can join them into the call. The list goes on. It's just flexibility, isn't it? Which is what you know, any modern council needs now, because the climate demands it, doesn't it? You know, things can change at a heartbeat, can't they? And you need to just kind of really respond to that extremely quickly. So, you know, it's great to hear all these wonderful things, and as a council that, you know, clearly is doing so much in the community. You know, obviously you started talking about using the forms or the apps such as Forms. I think you touched on Planner, something we see really of high use in the sector, because you know, clerks and officers, you like lists, don't you? You like to take notes, and you know, it's great to see that in action. And you know, how has Planner been working out for you, obviously, after a few months?
Planner has transformed my working life, definitely. I suppose I was maybe a bit of a Luddite before the pandemic, in that I did like paper. I still liked paper, although we were quite IT. You know, we weren't backward, but I still really like paper. Now I use paper very little. All my work is organised on Planner. I have different work plans for my different managers. They have work plans for their team. And they're just, it's just such a useful app. I can get into work in the morning. I can look at all the tasks that have been assigned to me in all the different plans, all in one place. I can see my workload. I can prioritise. I can move things around. It's just really very, it's really helped me organise my time. And I think for a lot of clerks, they'll find that what happens is they have a battle plan for the day, and it rarely survives contact with the enemy, because as soon as you get into the office, there are people and they want stuff, and it's councillors or it's residents or whatever. And it's the flexibility of Planner and the ability to sort of, you know, make it work for you. And I find that's really, really helpful.
Yeah, well, we spoke to Sally McLennan years ago about Planner. She was, you know, I remember deploying 365 when she was the clerk at Wolverton and Greenlees, and you know, she was like, Dave, I've been using Planner to do this. And I was like, wow, this is incredible, you know. And so I think it's a very natural fit for clerks and officers. And
I think
yeah,
so.
we see
I
it
think
time and
so.
time again. We've had Bracknell Town Council come on and speak about it, and you know how it's changed things. And you know, we ran actually on our happy hour sessions. We ran a session on Planner and to do and how it integrates to the app, which is really good. So there's always these little things that you find out that just really help to make it all easier to use. And what we continue to see is obviously the apps, you know, I mean, obviously, you know, you're busy, you're running a council and you can't learn everything all the time. But the great thing is there's something that when you feel like, you know, I'm comfortable using that, it has made an impact. What next? You know, what can I move on to next? You know, and we love just introducing those sort of things. And you mentioned earlier something that I haven't heard much being used in council land. So please do share that information.
Oh, this is Viva.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, I love Viva. This is an app that I came upon by chance when you set us up. We were signed up to Viva or whatever it is, and I would get an email every day, which would sort of pick up on what I'd done the previous day, what I had said I would do in emails. And I get this daily email, which I find incredibly useful. It's a really good start to my day. I can just check that I haven't forgotten anything that I needed to, you know, that might have fallen down on, despite my assiduous use of Planner. You know, there might be the odd thing that I've missed. It reminds me. It's very clever. The email that you get connects files that you might need to use in order to undertake a task that you've perhaps promised someone in an email, and it just keeps me on top of my game. Viva also provides insights into the way you're working, and I find that absolutely invaluable. It tells me how I'm spending my time, and that really enables me to sort of check in on my productivity and whether I'm spending my time wisely. And I find that very useful, and I think it would be really invaluable for lone working clerks, people who are on their own, because it's often difficult to reflect on your own practice, and those insights that come to you, I think, are very helpful, because you can get very bogged down. I think when you're working on your own as a clerk, you can get very bogged down. You can also get very stressed, and one of the things that Viva does is that it provides you with links to headspace, breathing exercises, a 5-minute stress meditation, that kind of thing. Just if you're working on your own, fantastic resource.
Yeah, exactly. You might need that. And we've talked before about how the role of a clerk can be quite isolating, you know, and you're expected to be the master of everything and the knowledge, the fountain of all knowledge for stuff.
Yeah.
So, you know, it's nice to have that digital assistant maybe that's like, you know, have you thought about this? Have you done that? And stuff like that. So, well, it's great to hear. And, you know, we're here at Cloudy. We've identified so many apps that we think have so many great use cases, which is why we sprung up a special event, the Happy Hour, where we, you know, pick an app and we discuss it. And I think last week we were talking about Visio, which is a fantastic app for org charts and process flows. And, you know, I think we're all a bit, you know, we like to see stuff looking pretty and nice, you know, rather than just things on a, you know, an Excel spreadsheet. Now we like it all, it brings it to life, doesn't it? And Visio through the templates, it does that. You do a click, choose the template, and it's half baked and ready to go out the box. So yeah, you know, it really useful. Thanks, Dina, for coming along and sharing all that wonderful insight there. I know it wasn't very long, but I think it's been super impactful. We're ready to hear firsthand about the benefits, and maybe we'll bring you back on next year. We can hear what else you found that could be useful. I'm sure there's a couple of clerks that are going off and thinking I'll go and have a look at that now. So yeah, really useful. Thanks so much for joining us and spending time at your busy day, because we know how busy it is. Yeah, if you've got 5 minutes at the end, if you could stay along for just if there's any questions. I think we always find that people are always sort of just a bit more overwhelmed by it all, but you know, but we're always here to help. But Delia, thank you so much, and we'll move on. Cheers. Great. Well, that was Delia, one of our clerks who we modernised at Bletchley and Fenny Stretford Town Council at the beginning of the year, which it doesn't really feel like that long ago, but it's flown by. But it's great to see the progress Dina and her team have made. And, obviously Bletchley and Fenny Stratford is one of the larger size councils, but we always believe that any size council can benefit from 365. And this is why we've had a national approach and a strategy that we've put together. So I'm really delighted to be joined by Paula Heath now. So Paula, are you there?
I am here. Hello.
Hi. Well, Paula, lovely to see you again, and thanks for joining us. And so Paula, a bit of history actually. So I always refer to that. It sounds a bit dubious that, but I always refer to our first council being Stony Stratford Town Council that we worked with about 8 years ago now. But actually, Paula was clerk at Buckingham Town Council. How many years ago was it, Paula? I always get the date wrong, but it's.
I started being a clerk there in 1996.
96. Okay, so we're talking how many years? When I saw you, maybe
27 years.
Really, wow. So I actually went and fixed Paula's NAS device when it went wrong. And I mean, looking at Buckingham Town Council, who we look after, we do their IT systems for. We're really, really proud and happy to be working with them. Back when you were clerk, what was it like back then, Paula? Back in I wouldn't say the dark ages of clerking, but certainly how did it feel being a clerk at what was a very small council, but now has lots of staff?
It was an amazingly small council. At the time, it was me for 15 hours a week. When I first went into the office, all I had was an answer phone, a fax machine, and an old Gesundner copier. Now, for those of you who are young enough not to remember them, Gesundners were literally a hand-cranked copier. It came out in a lovely purple ink, which has a habit of fading very quickly. The office, as it was then, the computer was still in a box on the floor. Yeah. Nobody had ever unpacked it.
Yeah, different world, wasn't it? It was incredible.
Yeah, and the filing cabinets were just bulging.
Yeah,
because everything was paper.
Wow, amazing. And we talk about Buckingham now being a lot larger, and but I think this is something we've seen in the whole sector, isn't it? Where councils up and down the country are taking on more services, and they're the devolution of services, and they're doing more in the communities. The communities want them to look after the parks, the play areas, the green fields, the sites, and how do you do it, especially now with the cost of living crisis and the squeeze we all face, especially in the local government sector? We can't just keep hiring people. We've just got to look at what we've got and look at the technology piece and do more. So Paula, you're going to talk really a bit. I mean, obviously you're part of the ALCC as well, so you offer advice. It'd be nice if you maybe just for members who aren't part of the council sector, explain what the ALCC role is, please, as well.
Yeah, I am what is known as an employment triage officer. Now, the ALCC is the Association of Local Council Clerks, and it's the trade union dedicated to our sector. So we deal with parish, town, neighbourhood, community councils across the whole of England and Wales. And we've got a very good support network that helps clerks. So when they have a problem, primarily on employment, I'm the one they first talk to, and I will either help them solve the problem there and then, or pass them on to an employment support officer. We've got them all over the country, and they will then work one-to-one with them on those issues. And it's one of the main things we find is that clerks that come to us, is communication is their biggest problem. And it's the lack of communication and the proliferation of communications. So when I first started, as I say, everything was paper. We now have offices with computers that are linked to a central server, whether that's in the office or in the cloud. They're linked to a copier, scanner, printer. Everything is digital. Documents and files are all up in the cloud, whether you're using Teams, 365, or whether you're using other third parties.
Yeah.
all our phone systems are interconnected and hands-free and
quite confusing in places, isn't it? You know, it's just there's too much choice almost, you know, where, you know, you can choose this and that. And, you know, obviously you talked about communication, and it's one of a clerk's key role, isn't it? To, you know, to streamline and, you know, ensure effective communication between your councillors, yourself and the community, you know.
And that's the main thing. It's effective communication. It's been able to make sure that what you're sending out to councillors, to the public, is precise, clear, and accessible to them. So it's not a case of dealing with so many different things. And that's the one joy of 365. Now, I will hold my hands up and say that I'm only just really getting to the grips with 365. And having listened to John, Steve, and Delia, I know I need to do a lot more work. And in fact, I will be talking to David later on, because I think this is something where our own union may need to look at a more detailed work, because we've got 12 regional reps all over the country. We have 2 dedicated members of staff. So
and you've got a lot to do, haven't you, Paula? You know, you've got a lot to do, and I think we see this reflected across the sector, whether we're talking to, you know, associations like yours, the SLCC, NAUC, or a council, that, you know, we're expected to be effective and be flexible and have to work remotely and do all these things, but you do need something to underpin that. And we can all be busy fools, and we're all guilty of it. You know, we all sort of run around doing stuff because that's the way we've done it for years, isn't it? And we know it works, but we do sort of sometimes have a moment and think, okay, you know, how much have I got done today? And, you know, especially it's great to hear Delia speak about her adoption. We've got a real good timeline there, and as Delia sort of went from, you know, old servers, multiple clouds to a single cloud, and, you know, new office and utilizing Teams and the benefits to her staff. And, you know, this is the thing with, you know, yourself and Delia, you've been clerks for many years, and, you know, did you ever think you'd see this sort of change, you know, where the local government space would be this far ahead?
No, because I mean, so take for example planning. When I first started, the plans were sent from the district council to us, and they were either A4, A2, A1, A3. There were massive plans, and you couldn't share them out with councillors, so they were pinned up on the notice boards, and councillors would come in before the meeting and go through all the papers. But now, because everything is digital, we don't have any of that problem.
Yeah.
Councillors can sit at home anytime during the week when they've got 5 minutes and go through the plans in their area, and we can sort of highlight to them which plans are coming through that are for their area, and they can go through them and look at them in detail, you know, sort of enlarge them, reduce them, depending on what they need for their own personal ability. Because obviously some councillors have got good eyesight, some have got good hearing, some of them haven't. And because it's now digital, they can highlight and move everything around as they want, and can make it accessible for them, no matter what their abilities.
Yeah, I mean, the accessibility in 365 is really good. You know,
and I've seen that develop, and I've seen the way councillors react to it. Yes, you're always going to get those who say, I don't want to know, really don't want to know. And I can tell you that I actually had one of my councillors who was very much adamant, anything technology, until we got to COVID, and we then got him on a laptop and how to use it. It apparently has created a bit of a monster, because he spends a lot of time now on the laptop and has quite a bit of knowledge that he's gained on that he then disseminates to all his family, friends, and
absolutely.
People will develop and they will move. And as I say, this is one of the things where you work with councillors to create this and to get them into that moving basis. And you're always going to get the problems. One of the things that we did was we went to dedicated emails.
Mm-hmm.
And that was that everybody had an .gov.uk email.
Yeah.
And there was quite a bit of, well, we don't know whether we want another email address. And it was a case of them working with them very slowly to say, right, look, this is why we want to do it. I mean, so you go on to the next slide.
Yeah, of course. We go on to change. Yep.
Yeah.
Sorry, go for it.
This is basically where you work through it. It's doing this change management as you go through a system. So it's basically understanding what you need to do. So we needed to change. GDPR would come in, data protection. People were suddenly really being conscious about the data you've got, how you use it, how you store it, what you do with it. And so with that, it was understanding that and understanding the need that we then started, right, we understand, we need to do this. It's then communicating that to people, telling them, look, this is why we're doing it. This is how we're going to do it. This is the reason. And you're explaining time and time, and always be careful when you're going through with this. Don't assume that people automatically know what you're talking about. It's very easy to use the acronyms that we all know about and the shortcuts we all think about, but not everybody understands them. When we were doing the change, I had to actually explain to somebody how an email works.
Yeah,
because they
absolutely.
didn't understand. They thought that because was the @.gov.uk that they would have to come into the office to see it.
Yeah.
It was actually having to explain to them, no, you can log on to your email at home.
Yeah, it shows you the challenge behind it, doesn't it? It's very varied because councils have all sorts of abilities, and and this is the thing. Ultimately, it's great for the staff to be able to use it, but equally, ultimately, councils have to engage and be comfortable and confident with it, and be given the support. And it's that sort of the chicken and the egg scenario, isn't it? That you want to bring in more councillors, a diverse set of councillors, younger councillors, but if you don't invest in the technology, then they are going to be put a bit off, and because they are used to it in their working lives now, the things that we all take for granted. But equally, if you were of a generation but didn't have access to all this stuff and it's quite new to you, then it's not something you're naturally familiar with. So definitely change is key. And when you speak to Steve and Delia and how they change their councils, how you've done it with yours, and we are seeing a huge drive now. Councils like yourselves all moving to .govs a while back, but it is, it's obviously, recommended by NALCN, there are some great benefits to that, not just about security, but management, GDPR, as we mentioned, the ability to, if you are on a 365 platform, if an information request came through, you can do what's called e-discovery, where you present that report within a couple of clicks. Now, that's definitely got to save you time, because who wants to be trawling through so many emails and documents and conversations? No one. We just don't have that sort of time. And even the ability that when councillors come and go, you're able to archive the mailboxes off correctly and assign them to people and assign new licenses to new people. So it really does help. And when you talk about change, we're all going through a lot of change all the time at the moment. But if you can find those good partners, those things that have been done time and time again and benefits seen, then you can, hopefully gives you a bit of a head start, doesn't it? Rather than do those mistakes that someone else has made.
One of the things that I found when I was dealing with the .gov.uk going back was obviously getting the actual name wasn't that bad, because you just go onto the government website and click on. But where I found the biggest struggle initially was finding a company that could register the domain and in fact host our website. And when I looked on it recently, there was over 2,000 companies. But most of those companies will not deal with a single use, small entity, like actually. So therefore, when, because I've got contacts through SLCC and ALC, we were able to use companies that can drip down.
Now, specialists, absolutely.
I am still working on getting my council on to Cloudy, but
well, listen, we're very grateful for the councils we work with, and we're always here to work with new ones. Absolutely. So it keeps us busy. So I mean, I suppose talking about sort of concluding, and your experience where it came from when you talked about the hand-driven photocopier, which is I don't remember that one in the office, but I was quite young. I was sort of, I think, quite head down and focused.
This way, within 3 or 4 months, I had us signed up to a proper photocopier. I think I used it about 3 times and decided that my arm couldn't cope with doing 20 odd copies of agendas, minutes, background documents by literally hand cranking every single one through.
Absolutely.
So yes, one of the first things I did was I didn't actually even tell the council. I just basically said to them, we are changing to a photocopier, a proper one.
Yeah, but that's what we see in the change. You change from that to a photocopier, and then we saw councils go digital, and they didn't print the agenda, but they attached it to an email and sent it. And I suppose that was going digital because you didn't print it anymore, but you didn't really fundamentally change what you did. And what we did see happen is a lot of councillors sort of really struggle to look at long documents on a screen, or manage so many supporting papers as attachments. It's incredibly confusing. So we didn't really see a big change in how things were done. It was just done in a different way. But what we are starting to see now through 365 is the change to solutions that can manage how councils interact with agenda packs and how you build the agenda packs and share them. And that hasn't really been possible up until this point because the technology wasn't ready, and maybe even society, maybe we weren't ready. But we're seeing a fundamental shift now to solutions to build agendas quickly, simply, online, and once again, those key things, saving money and time. So what do you reckon we need to look out for, and what are you doing at the ALCC and yourselves as well?
Right. With one of the big problems I'm finding is when clerks talk to me is the fact that because we've now got this lovely proliferate of ways of communicating, and we don't have to be restricted to work hours, they're actually finding that they're suffering from a bullying, harassment attitude. Of people sending emails any time of the day or night, not looking at what they're actually sending sometimes. I've had clerks in tears because they've been receiving emails at midnight, 1, 2 o'clock in the morning. And so one of the things that I've been saying to them is work within work hours. Set yourself X hours in the day and say, right, that's my work hours. Because a lot of the clerks are part-time. They're employed for 20, 25 hours a week. So say, set yourself work times when you're going to work, and let your council know you are available at that time for phone calls. So within a 5-hour day, you'll say, right, the first hour of the day, I am open for phone calls and emails. The other 4, I will not be responding. And that way you try and limit your connection. I mean, so I had one councillor who was very fond of sending emails middle of the night because that's when they were awake, which was fine. But because they were doing it in the middle of the night, when they were being stressed, because as it subsequently turned out, he had got a lot of problems at his home life. His emails were not appropriate. They weren't in a language that would be acceptable. And I kept sort of putting off doing anything about this. And in the end, I spoke to the staffing committee and said, look, this is getting out of hand. And so the staffing committee then arranged the meeting. And what we were able to find out was that he got this huge stress that meant he was working at odd times, that he was doing things at odd hours. And he hadn't understood what it felt like being on the other end.
Yeah, of
So
course.
by working together, and other councillors had seen this stress, but because I'd been kept quiet, they hadn't said anything.
Yeah.
But the minute I opened up and said, look, this is starting to really affect me, they then came back and said, well, actually, yes, we've noticed this. And we were able to put in measures to help. And I must admit, using Microsoft and using Teams, it does help because you can take the heat out of something by not being in the same room.
Yeah, and it's definitely got some great features around mental health and well-being. As Delia mentioned, you've got the Headspace app, which is linked to it. Like you said, it's an isolating role, and you can use that just to sort of step out of the room, do some breathing exercises, a bit of light meditation. I've used Headspace before, actually. We all need it at times. And
yes,
it's got some great. We are, I think what you touched upon earlier, a lot of clerks actually probably do more hours than they're actually paid to do. We all probably do that at times, don't we? Let's be honest. But people can't take it for granted, and clerks generally want to do the best they can. But if they're not given the tools to do that, the correct IT, etc., then they end up sort of going around in circles a bit, maybe, and it needs to be fixed, doesn't it? You can't keep going on that way, can you?
As I say, I've sort of said to class, actually listen to what people are saying to you and how they're saying and what they're not saying as much as what they are, because people will often not come to you directly, especially if you're dealing with staff members.
Yeah.
Those staff members may not actually come out and say what is causing the problem. But if you listen carefully, you can actually find out. And that's when you look to, is there a way we can change this?
Absolutely.
Is there a way we can work better? Yeah. And this is where we are now, all of us looking at, are the ways that we can work better, supporting staff members, supporting councillors, and as well as saving money. Because the great thing, as we say, by using sort of the shareability, we're not printing out everything all the time. So we're saving paper, we're saving the planet. We're not posting stuff. Unfortunately, this is causing a problem for the post office, but we're not, say I was driving around hand delivering. So again, we're not doing that.
Of course.
There is lots of things that we can do to change and to make savings that will then impact on helping our community, because they are all suffering from the cost of living, and they don't need the council putting up the council tax to cover, the amount of work that we're having to do.
Absolutely. Well, that's it. Everyone's seen their bills increase, and I've actually seen a number of parish councils who've made, not increased their preset, which is lovely. Where I live, and it's remained the same despite all the other local costs going up. So, brilliant. Well, Paula, thank you so much. Really interesting to hear, what you've been doing both as a clerk and through the ALCC, and what your members come to you and saying. We'd love to obviously help you at the ALC to assist you to be a bit more productive as a team and stuff, because we know as all organisations are, they're struggling to stay on top of the workload because it's in such demand. So brilliant. Well, Paula, thank you so much.
We're gonna keep smiling and remember
I love that.
How strong and lovely person you are, and we will all get through. And if you can't, give me a ring.
Brilliant. And that's the thing, it's a new day when you wake up and you can do a bit of a reset. Paula, well, thank you. So we're actually at the end of it, really. So we've gone through all our fantastic guests who've come along over the last hour and a bit and talked about some of their experiences. And if we've got any questions, I don't know, Ryan, you're acting there. Have we got any questions at all for anyone? Okay, so no questions today. That keeps it short and sweet. But Paula, thank you so much. Ryan, do you want to get everyone else back on the screen and we can just thank everyone for their time today? Dina, good to see you. I don't know if Steve's gone missing, has he? Yeah, he's gone wandering, so we'll leave him to. But oh, he's back. Hi. Yeah, he's in a different room this time.
I've just changed rooms, so I've gone back to my other room. So yeah, it's been having some fun and games.
Oh, brilliant. Well, that's it. This is the modern world we live in, isn't it? You know, earlier on, this banner here was falling on my head. It was all quite good fun. So brilliant. Well, thank you so much for joining us. We had no questions today, but, you know, I'm sure people have walked away thinking about little things they can do in their councils and their communities just to make a bit of a difference. Delia or Steve or Paul, any final thoughts before I sort of wrap things up at all?
No, but all I can say is, having listened to everybody else, I am certainly going to be investigating 365 a little bit more thoroughly than I have been.
Brilliant. Cheers, Paula. Yeah, Delia, anything from yourself at all? Any final comments?
Well, just I think that it's really important to embrace the technology and take what works for you from it. But and it's certainly worked for us as an organisation. It's definitely increased our productivity, and I foresee us being able to make further improvements as we gradually learn to use more and more features of Office 365.
Yeah, no, absolutely. It's a journey, isn't it? And, you know, we're all busy juggling council elections and sadly, you know, the Queen's passing away. All these different things get thrown at you, don't you? And, you know, you just can't do it all at the same time. But you just know that you're on a pathway that will, you know, has lots of opportunity to continue on, and the development improvements are always there. So brilliant. And Steve, I don't know, are you moved rooms again, Steve? Are you there?
Well, yeah, I am of course having some technological fun at the moment, so, as we all do. So no, I think, you know, Paula, Delia, you know, and John earlier on, I would echo, you know, everything that they've said. You know, my own experiences going through the journey with the council, and of course talking with other councils about that journey. You know, we spoke to people before we started ours, and people have spoke to us after we started ours to say, you know, and I think it's sharing that knowledge, because, you know, Paula and Delia, you know, we've all been in this, you know, for a reasonable length of time. There are some sort of pitfalls to you know, doing these sort of large projects, and you know, it's passing that wisdom on to other clerks, other officers, and saying to them, look, you know, don't be tempted to do this. We did this, others have done this, and there's always oh, we didn't know that, or we weren't aware of that. That's important. And one of the things David said earlier on, and I think is awfully important, is this data risk. You know, is keeping the information that's relevant to the council, that is the council's data, safely in the council's systems. You know, if it's shared on you know, everybody's done it. You know, I've set up my account on a temporary laptop while I'm just doing some work on it. Is that laptop secure? You know, is the data on it secure? Could someone compromise that laptop and gain access to sensitive information? And that's why, you know, one of the things that the council, you know, when we were looking at it, was really important to the councillors, and was keeping their data and the residents' data safe. You know, and this brought that level of security to us as a parish. And again, I hear it from many other parish and town councils that, you know, it's risk and security are becoming ever more present nowadays. Whereas, as you say, you'd print off all the documents and leave it around the table for a meeting for everybody to pick up and use. And then at the end of it, some people just throw them in the waste bin at the end of the night, you know, and they could contain awfully sensitive information. That can't be allowed to happen in our digital age. You know, we're entrusted with this data, and we should do everything possible to make sure we keep it safe and secure, and usable by council.
Yeah, no, exactly. And that's why, you know, you don't have a partner such as Microsoft with impeccable credentials around data security and cloud as well. So thank you, Steve, Delia and Paula, so much. And yeah, we look forward to maybe checking in another 6 months and seeing where we are on that journey. Wonderful. So I'll just wrap things up now. So Brilliant. Well, Cloudy have a really busy schedule of events and all sorts of wonderful things to try and just continue the engagement and the conversation. We have the Clerks Tech Forum, which is a forum we've put together where clerks can just go in and discuss all things tech, maybe success stories they've had, things that haven't gone so well. It's always good to know the things that don't do well as the things that do. Steve often puts polls into the group. You can see Steve putting one there about, which app do we want to see a demonstration on, and we had the lovely Helene there from SLCC talking about Teams for phones that they had put in at the SLCC. So please do join the Clerks Tech Forum. It's a lovely space where people can just engage and a bit light touch and a bit of fun as well. And we've got a busy schedule of events, both in person and virtual, as well as running these webinars. We also host a regular happy hour session where we take a look at the apps we're building in the sector, all built on Microsoft 365. We've got a real exciting one coming through from Stanford, which is a cemetery app, and now working with all sorts. It's incredible, the app development program. So really excited. And then finally, the Decision Hour, which is a program we're launching around building better agenda packs, building them quickly, efficiently, at a very, very reasonable price as well. So that's a regular slot. And then we're going to be at the SLCC conference, and also we're one of the sponsors for the One Voice Wales conference, which over in Wales, a bit different rules rather than in England, where councillors can vote virtually, and they're certainly taking advantage of that. So, really excited to see what they're doing over the border, so to speak. And, who knows, it could be something that we're seeing here in England as well. So fingers crossed, absolutely. We all don't want to just go back to meeting virtually again, but we want the flexibility. And that's what I think is a very, very fair thing to ask for. So very busy. But once again, thank you so much for joining us. We would really appreciate your feedback. Please use the QR code to snap it. I'll leave it on the screen whilst I'm talking, where you can leave some feedback about the conference. We've got one more event happening again in November, which is all talking about our e-learning platform, Clip Training, and the importance of training. And ideally, you spoke last time about using that platform and some great videos some great things you've learned from watching the videos. So we're talking specifically about that. And I think we've even got your colleague, John, who's going to come on and talk a bit about that. So that'll be really good. But once again, thank you so much for joining us, and we look forward to speaking to you soon. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye-bye.
As part of our Digital Levelling Up agenda for local government, launched at this year's Practitioners Conference in partnership with Microsoft, we're proud to be putting on a number of events this year. In March, we've got 2 events happening. One being how to use Microsoft 365 to run a more productive council. The other one on how to build and distribute the modern agenda pack on Microsoft 365 with our partner Decisions. We'd love to see you at those events, so please do sign up, and we look forward to seeing you then.
Our focus at Decisions is sort of taking what Microsoft has already built, what you already have access to from your subscriptions to Microsoft Teams and Microsoft 365, and extend those and get them to integrate a bit better for the purposes of organizing meetings.
Hello, my name is Kelly Holland. I am a parish clerk to a small parish council in Essex. I've been a clerk now for 13 years. We have an electorate of just over 1,100, 9 councillors, and at present we have a precept of just over £46,000. Modernising the council was something that was really quite important to me. I'm very much someone who likes to be organised, everything in its own little place. So it was important that I could do that with my council, who aren't necessarily as susceptible to change as I would like them to be. But the main reason for that was to try and streamline my work, give myself more time to actually spend on the projects that needed more time on, and reduce that time commitment on the kind of day-to-day aspects of the job. The Decision software showed me a completely new way of working that would address my issues and my challenges in relation to time. Creating the agendas and the paperwork and everything it's creating a huge time commitment for me that I knew needed addressing, but I didn't know what the solution was. So actually seeing this in action, how decisions would work and how it would actually create that agenda pack for me. I've been doing it personally myself in a more long, as I said, a longer way around, which I've done through Word and also from screenshotting PDFs and trying to fit them in and trying to make sure that they're accessible as well. And it has been a huge drain on my time. So the actual decision software showed that the time spent creating the agendas and the associated packs could be dramatically decreased for me. And there was this software package that did it for me. So to me, that was me. I was kind of sold on it just from that perspective. But in addition, it also gave you the opportunity to create a draft template for your minutes, where it just carried the information from the agenda over to the minutes document. So it was your minutes are almost half written before you even go to write your minutes, which I really liked the idea of. And also the decisions made within the meeting could then be put into Microsoft Planner as well, which I currently do that in a different system. So all these steps that I do myself, one particular piece of software could do for me, which I thought was really, really helpful. So that's the main things that sold me